Hello, my name's Robert Punton, star of the video. I just like to say on both Mark and Ellen talked about the Labour Party. On Thursday I went to in Birmingham, I went to Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell's post-budget speech, and on that conference they mentioned a lot, as Ellen said, about how they're going to be supporting all people, but not. I know I'm getting on, but I'm not quite at retirement age yet. But there was nothing as said about younger disabled people, and also the language and rhetoric they use when they talk about social care. I'm 55, not 5. I don't need care, I need support to live my life independently. And until we do get them to talk around the language that is appropriate for us to live independently, then we really need, if they're going to be the next government, we need to get in and do that now.
Hi, sorry. My name's Carlo from Northamptonshire. I think it's to do with what we were talking about refocusing and the language as well. I think we should dump the liberal in the neoliberal prefacing of this and really tell it like it is, the debate in the way the present government would like us to be and submit. It's more a question of being neo-fascist rather than being neoliberal, without a doubt. So we simply must fight this. Get it so it's disabled people on top. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Claire from Invisible. I think care relates to everyone's relationships in the whole world, and care for the planet and wildlife. You know, it's not something that's just restricted to disabled people. And to get away from patronising relationships and break out of the situation we're in, we need unwaged family members to be recognised and to get the living wage. That's the way for us to get out of the situation where we're trapped and we don't have a choice. And I don't think that what we talk about today should just be people of working age. I mean, for example, my dad's passed away now, but I was helping to look after him before he passed away. He did not want home care. He did not want to be the employer of anybody. He wanted his family members coming. And, I was not recognised as a carer. When I needed to park at the hospital, I couldn't get blue badge parking because I wasn't a patient there. We want to put something out which integrates disabled women carers and the whole issue of the millions of unwaged carers as well, and for them to get the living wage so that we're not stuck in an exploitative situation.
Hello, my name's Chris Smith. I come from a very small town, which is probably I am the largest supplier of labour in that little small town. I come from a history of disability. I have now 3 companies, all of which lead in disabled people's needs, and to name them, I'm chair of the Disabled Golf Association. I'm also a fellow director of the Caribbean Disabled Sports Association, and I'm also a trustee of a group called Saved USAP. Just to put it on record, our local council, which is Stroud District Council, had up until the beginning of this year something like 800 independent sheltered living accommodation. They've now closed 20% of that, and they propose to close many more. The problem is they're not building any more sheltered accommodation, and the people who are being kicked out of their sheltered accommodation sites are basically being put onto the end of a queue of 3,000 people, all of whom are finding that it's difficult enough to get accommodation, let alone that accommodation which is specific to the elderly and disabled. I would also like to say that I've been through the PIP and the DLA process, and I've got more problems than you could wave a stick at, and yet I was turned down. I immediately threw the problem back at them, and within 2 weeks I got a complete reversal. So I must stress that in order to get the people to listen to you at the DWP, you must get your application in for a referral as soon as possible. Last and not least, I was on the DAA, which a lot of people may or may not know, which was the organisation, the Disability Action Alliance, which was set up by the the Office of Disability Issues. It lasted for 2 years under the old coalition government. Then everyone decided it was not going anywhere because we were being asked to support policies which were being produced, which no one had a desire for. So there was a mass walkout, and now it's disappeared. So, you know, we are genuinely, that was the first, I believe, Duplo organisation run by a government, and it failed. Purely and simply because they didn't want to support it. The disabled people within the organisation knew it was a con, and within 6 months, everyone had literally walked out of the Disability Action Alliance, and now it's no more. Thank you very much.
My name is Sarith Patel, I'm from Newham. Newham was really brilliant with inclusive education in the past, but it's going backwards. So disabled children are really suffering, they're in more units and whatever, and then the parents are suffering. I do agree with the lady's point about carers, and especially if you're a service user and they do not recognise you being a service user and a carer, and sometimes you've got no other choice because you haven't got the funding that you need for social care for your loved ones properly, because they don't understand the system because they have serious mental health needs. The system plays them against you, and it's all this bureaucratic, whatever they do, the system. I think, like you said, I agree with what you said, that we should be taking the lead. We should be leading on our people's needs. We should be independent of them. Department of Work and Pension, you put a complaint in and then you don't even get a response back. That's how much they value us as disabled people, because they don't even recognise us really. They don't even respond back. And that's terrible. That tells you that they don't value us. But how do we address this? We've got to fight united like we're doing today, and we've got to challenge them, and I think we've all got to campaign. Labour is in our council, but yet we're struggling. So again, that's something that I regularly go and see my MP, but I tell him and I say, well, I want change. You know, for us to get more Labour voters, we need to see change happening at local level for our community. If it doesn't happen, we can't support you.
Thank you, Whitmore. Speaking as someone who went into sheltered accommodation at the age of 23 as a young bride, I'm now almost 80. I didn't fit in at 23. I don't fit in now. I'm really pleased that they're getting rid of sheltered accommodation. What disabled people want is to be included with other people, not put in ghettos.
So, Serena, I just want to point out that under austerity and the stretch of social services and social care, there's actually a hierarchy in how they kind of allocate need and supporting that need. For example, people with mental health issues, they're completely omitting any kind of obligation to support. I know of one individual who, when she applied for her notes from the local mental health hospital. She found out that 10 years ago she was meant to get a care package, and 10 years later no one has spoken to her about that. So mental health, people with mental health challenges are not getting the care as well. And because it's an invisible disability, they tend to want to support people with visible disabilities.
Hello, I'm Mary Helen. I'm from Hounslow. And I just wanted to say what's happening in Hounslow and compare it to Hammersmith and Fulham right next door to us. In Hounslow, they've, in my case, have decided to just stop the independent living component part of my care without any notice, without any written warning. I've had to fight them with the help of a lawyer to actually get that reinstated, and they reinstated it temporarily while they continue my assessment. And right next door in Hammersmith and Fulham, they've decided not to make any cuts to care. Not only that, they have decided not to scrap all charges for care as well. So it is very much a postcode lottery, and we really need to fight that and get it centralised again. But as we're getting that change made, we really need to think about the wording of what we use. And we don't, as was pointed out earlier, I turn 55 and I don't need to be treated like I'm 5, and I don't need to have someone care for me. I need someone to support me. And we don't need a care act, we need a support act. We need to be the ones in charge and the ones that are being heard. I really wanted to say an enormous thank you to Inclusion London and Deepak for all the support I've had and I'm continuing to have. It is an enormous battle, and it's driven me to feeling quite suicidal and self-harming, and I don't want to see anyone else having to go through this. So, thanks.